Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in the grind, no escape from me. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see I'm just a poor boy, scraping by minimum wage. Born in the shadows of the city lights, concrete cradle under endless nights. Daddy worked 2 jobs, mama prayed for rain. Bills like chains rattling around my brain. But I read the books when the wolves were at the door. Charts and candles on the bedroom floor. Stocks in the morning, real estate at noon. Silver and gold under the harvest moon. Sweat on my collar, fire in my veins. Every dollar saved was breaking free from the pain. They said play it safe, boy, stay in line. Clock in, clock out till the end of time. But the system's a cage with a velvet disguise, promising heaven while it steals your life. Rise from the ashes I built my throne. Turn pennies to empires of my own. Stocks and stones, bricks of gold, silver rivers in the stories I told. I broke the wheel, I broke the road, golden chains, no more. Golden chains, no more. I sold my fear for a pocket full of grit. Learned the hard math, made the numbers fit. While they were laughing, I was making my move. Every red defeat had something left to prove. Late night hunger and a borrowed chair, 1 cracked lamp and 1,000 stairs. I watched the weak hands fold and bend, then I doubled down and called it the end. Now the same old names come crawling back, knocking on my door with their polished stack. But I know that sound, I know that price. I paid in blood for this smaller life. They said stay small, boy, stay in line. Clock in, clock out till the end of time. But the system's a cage with a velvet disguise, promising heaven while it steals your life. Rise from the ashes I built my throne. Turn pennies to empires of my own. Stocks and stones, bricks of gold.
Good morning, all you sexy stackers out there. Appreciate you so much for hanging out with us today. Let's get our quick salutations and we jump into the topic at hand. Welcome Red Cloud, Pang Stockpiles, Kevin Hawthorne. Is it Lisa Anderson? I think I got it. And there we go. Roadkill West Texas Stacker. Take a moment to go ahead and do the poll, grab the like button, grab a cup of coffee, and let's rock and roll. All right, today, I wanted to talk about, obviously we kind of retracted back up from that 55 range. I was able to pick up 10 ounces of silver at 55, so I'm pretty happy about that. A beautiful, beautiful Tudor Beast Dragon 10-ounce round, and that was on a pre-order, so hopefully that arrives. We paid $600 for that, so hey, look at that. Yeah, happy to get that coin in whenever it comes in, or that round, I guess. That'd be nice. Also, with today, I was wondering, I've been talking a lot about constitutional silver because I still believe that, we are in a situation where we are in not the bottom of the cycle for constitutional silver, because I think the bottom of the cycle was probably around January, February, when prices had come up so much that LGSs basically were like, no, we don't want constitutional, we're not buying it from you, or we're going to offer you almost a disrespectful amount of money back for it if you do sell it to us, because the refiners don't want it and we can't offload it. We don't want to get caught with holding the bag, which, hey, smart choice, because if they had bought a whole bunch of 90% silver at $110 an ounce, melt value, and held it till today, well, yeah, they would have really been burned. So I get it. But my point with that, what's up, Mustard and Biscuits? Teresa Buchanan, thanks everybody for hopping in here saying hello. My point with this is that I feel like that was the bottom, right? That to me was the bottom signal for constitutional silver. It was least interested online in the social spheres of content and social conversations and things like that. It was getting disrespectful price back, and people just in general, I think, were just selling it, offloading it, and not really buying it. And obviously, buying at the top is not really the best time to buy. But hey, if we're stackers, we're buying anyway. Like the price is there. We acknowledge the price. Maybe we make decisions on how much we can buy, but we're probably all buying anyway. But now what has happened is the price has come back down. A lot of the spreads have kind of like normalized. It's normal to get 10% back. I hate to tell you this, guys, but even when you go to sell rounds and stuff, like it's kind of normal to get 10% back in a bull market. In a bear market, it might shrink a little bit. In a stable market's where you really see premiums kind of go away. And we are not in a stable market. And because we are in such a volatile market, that is why we're seeing prices, like when you go to sell or something, there's such a big spread. It's simply because of the volatility, not anything else. So here we are. We're looking at this, and constitutional silver is absolutely, I think, where I'm going to focus for a while, because in these cycles that I'm talking about, when I first got into stacking, we were in a cycle. All right, take care, Red Cloud. Appreciate you. Have a good day. Being Becky, good to see you. It's been a long time, Being Becky. Glad to see you back. I think when I first got into stacking, how do I say this? The constitutional silver was a higher premium than the 10-ounce bars and the kilo bars that I was buying. Just simple as that. I was paying basically spot for. Oh, thank you so much, Becky, for gifting a channel membership. Thank you. Welcome. Oh, that's also, what is that? Jewels too? Eagles? This is the graphics that get sent. I don't know if you guys can see the graphics. I don't know how it works on the YouTube channel, but like on my screen, I see like these a flying eagle holding like a rose or something. I can't tell. Anyway, that's awesome. When I first got into stacking, constitutional silver was a higher premium from all of the online dealers than the large bullion bars and rounds. And I do believe that there will be a time in the future where we cycle back into that situation. And it's not really like contrarian, but right now that is not what's in demand, right? What's in demand are your American Silver Eagles, right? Your Libertads, generic rounds are high in demand right now because people don't want to pay these huge premiums. Like they want to just they want to get a lot of value and bang for their buck, and I can't blame them. But I am really just focused on this 90% stuff right now, and again I do think that it's going to cycle back. So what I did today was to kind of like go through that argument of why, I'm more focused on circulated US coinage rather than uncirculated government sovereign minted coinage, if that makes sense. And the biggest easy example of that would be like, I would rather purchase and own Morgan dollars or peace dollars than I would rather own Silver Eagles, but they're both US minted coinage, right? They both have a US dollar face value. They're both made out of silver. Silver Eagles are actually pure silver. And the only reason is because of the large premium. That's not the only reason. I shouldn't say the only reason, because there's actually multiple reasons that I've discussed many times. But one of the reasons is because of that. Another reason is because they were never circulated. Silver Eagles were never circulated. Like if I go, I've got this report too. I'm going to go through here pretty soon, and we're going to go through every single one of these coins: the American Silver Eagle, the Britannia, the Maple, and the Libertad. And I'm going to talk about how many coins were minted. How many of these coins were minted by the U.S. mints, or not the U.S. mints, but by all the government's mints, right? Those countries' mints. How many were minted? And then also we're going to go through a little bit here of like how rare are they actually? Like how many of them are in the top grade? How many of them are in the lower grade? And I'm going to keep pushing this because my argument is that your best long-term potential for value growth for like especially on the numismatic side, the collectability numismatic side of things, is going to be on circulated coinage, like graded, high grade, high quality circulated coinage versus new modern mint coinage that was never circulated because it has no wear and tear. They're pretty much, they should all basically be 68 or higher, or, proof 68 or higher, right? There's no reason why uncirculated coins, other than bad mint strikes or damaged product while packaging, right? There's no reason why they should be under that grade. So in theory, anything, in my opinion, anything under 70 in a new mint coinage, I'm kind of like, going ahead too far, but should be basically worth the raw value of the coin, simply because like it's uncirculated. Why would it matter? If it's uncirculated and they all have good strike, like just stick with it. Anyway, all right, let's go back in here. And we can do this with data in just a moment. We'll go through here and I'll show you which ones might be worth more in a 70 than a 69, which ones of the 69 would be worth a bigger premium than raw, based on the availability of the 70s. But yeah, you're going to see, and you just look at the numbers, like, again, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but if you just look, quick foreshadowing there, this is just PCGS. I'm not going through every grading company, but there are 2,770,978 American Silver Eagles of all date issues, right? And all mint strike issues that were graded in the MS 70 category. Okay. 2 million. Okay. To sum this up for you folks, that is not rare. That is not scarce. That is not special. There's plenty of them out there. Versus if you go look at, Morgan dollars in an MS 70, there's a reason they are $60,000 plus coins, because those were built and made to be used as currency and circulated. West Texas, what's going on? You said, do you buy into the 90% as barter scenario? That's a bigger question. Okay, like if we ever got to a scenario where people were bartering again with commodities, right? With food, services, coinage, gold, silver, copper, lead, whatever it might be, right? If we ever made it into that scenario, perhaps there would be a newly formed organized body of people that are trying to act as a city or a town or borough that would want to accumulate money in that sense, precious metals as money or other commodities as money, so that they could then organize systems to employ people for the betterment of the community or city. That you guys follow me? We're going off of the topic of today, but that's fine. I could see a world where when new cities and governments and local governments, right? I'm talking like you've got 5 guys in a in an Armageddon type situation, where you got like 5 guys. What's going on, Farm Boy? That are the quote unquote leaders of a group of 10 families, and what they are the representatives now of organizing people and getting them employed, and basically saying, hey, I need you to dig. I need you to dig troughs. I need you to build a plumbing system. I need you to, be a mechanic that works on vehicles. I need you, you get my point. Like, I need you to grow vegetables. I need you to take care of the children. And they would reward those people for their time during the day through food and water and eventually gold and silver or something. But then you'd have to get that from outside people. I don't think 1-to-1, like, gold and silver would play as big of a role in barter, because I think 1-to-1, I would say something like, hey, I have a ton of extra clothes and winter's coming up. How about I give you some extra layers of clothes and jacket, and you give me 200 pounds of potatoes because you've got a potato farm, right? Like I think 1-to-1 that would be like, people would be less interested in gold and silver, and they'd be more interested in like instantly usable, tangible goods, like that they could like add value to their life instantly. Versus like if we had governmental type situations propping up all over the country, or like localities doing that, I could see them wanting to find a interstate commerce type a unit, which would be like gold and silver, or coinage and things like that. Yeah, so like Farm Boy saying, the US dollar would have to die. I think that's how the US dollar would die, is like if the country dissolved and we were able to create all of our own independent little smaller governments that could then interact and trade with each other. Okay, so completely off topic, but there you go. There's my long-winded answer to your question, West Texas Stacker. At least that's how I see it. All right, I don't remember what we were talking about. We were talking about silver. Oh yeah, prices. If people care, it's $59.31 for silver, $41.28 for gold. If I go back to the mintages, right? Let's go through the American Silver Eagle. The American Silver Eagle was created, right? It was created as a collectible for United States collectors out of pure silver. To put this into perspective, in 1986, the first year of issue, right? They created 5,393,000 of these suckers. On the first year of issue, they created 1,450,000 proofs of the American Silver Eagle. That kind of tells you enough. And then the next year they made 11 million. I have a question for you. Is 11 million of an uncirculated, never intended to be used for purchase and, trade and transactions, would you consider that ever to be rare? Right? Now, I'm not saying human beings don't collect things. I'm not saying people won't want a full, the full date series and all that stuff. Like, I get it. But the reality is that there's no rarity here. There's no scarcity here. It is just a beautiful 1 ounce coin. I'm not disrespecting these coins. I am saying as a point that there's a difference between these modern day US minted uncirculated coins and the coins made, right, pre-64, that were made for circulation and for trade, that were in people's hands and being used as currency. There's a big difference in the long-term collectability and potential growth, because those were already pretty scarce and rare, right? When you take in the 30 years of being in use, and then you go into the ones that are actually a high grade, and we get to the point where there's significantly less that are in a high grade. So if I'm just going through this, right, if you look at all these years of the American Silver Eagle mintages, 5 million or so is kind of the average for the up to 2000s, right? And then look what happens, right? So 2001, 2007, we have 8 to 10 million. So we had a little bit of a lull here in 1990s, 94 through 99. We had a little bit of a lull down below 5 million, but let's just call 5 million, or roughly is the average, 5.5 million, somewhere in that range. Then look what happens. So I would say it's already not rare at 11 million. But then in 2008, the US Mint goes parabolic in its production, okay? Now we're talking 20 million plus coins, 30 million, 34 million, 40 million, 47 million. Like, these are not rare. These are common, these are just common coins. And again, never ever meant to be circulated. You're just purchased by collectors from the US Mint or wherever, they're third party, it doesn't matter. Just purchase, and then just thrown into, monster boxes and tubes and sealed up and, everything, like brown protectors. They're just put on display, whatever, graded. There's nothing special. There's nothing special about them in a MS70 really either, right? That's the other thing. And not everybody's a grader or a collector, but if we just look, like, there's 16,000 in the MS70, 310,000 in MS69. Like that's not special. When you get into circulated coins, you start looking at the fact that there's legitimately 0 69s, and there's 0 70s, or there's 1 69, and there's 10 68s. And that's why those demand such a tremendous premium, is because, again, they were beat to hell. They were used and circulated, and people weren't buying them with the intention of collecting them. They were earning them through their trade or their work, and they were spending them on whatever they needed in their life. Like it was a big difference, and so that's why they're so much harder to get in a higher grade. So the other thing about this is, yes, we're definitely melting down all these American Silver Eagles. I guarantee you millions of American Silver Eagles have been melted down over the last 5 years. Yeah, less and less of them every year as well. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at now, right? Sorry, mistake. How was the deep mirror, prof? Oh, was that like somebody else? Junk is whack, caused problems. Junk, I don't know how it caused problems, but Gabagool, what's up, dude? All right, so you see my point here. All right, let's keep going through some of the mintages here. 28 million roughly of type 1. There's type 1 and type 2 split. 16 million, 25 million. And then you get to kind of some of the more various random ones. But you see the overall gist here: 23 million in 2024, 12 million in 2025. I don't know what 2026 is going to be like, because I think that they had no issues getting all the silver they needed to print. What's going on, Warhammer? I don't think they had any issues getting all the silver. I think they got the silver before all the spike spikes and stuff like that. The difference is with the 2026 is that they raised the prices at the US Mint so dramatically, well above the 110 spot. In fact, they priced American Silver Eagles on the US Mint. They priced them at 150 outs, roughly based on their prior premiums. They priced them around $150 per ounce silver. Just so you know, I was doing the math way back when. So, because they always have a premium, right? They always had a premium on all this stuff, and then that's what had changed. So we go shop, coins, American Eagle coins, and I just want to see where we're still at. I just want to see where we're still at. 173 for the proof, and I think 169 for the non-proof, right? So, oh, that's palladium. Excuse me. Congratulations, set. The proofs are 173. I believe it's 169. Yeah, so that's at 2023 as well. All right, with the West Point. All right, you get my point here. Another uncirculated 2024 from West Point. Yeah, you get the point. So proofs 173, West Point 169. Congratulations 175. So there's always been a premium onto buying from the US Mint directly, but when the price came down dramatically, they didn't adjust their pricing. So I think that what's going to end up happening is like actual ownership. It's going to take a while for people to want to purchase the 2026 Eagles, or online bullion dealers who bought, tens of thousands of them are going to continue to sell them lower and lower and lower at the current price of, metal per ounce. So that's what we'll see. All right, let's go into the next coin. Let's go into the Britannia. So the Britannia started in 1997, and it was proof only, low mintage. I don't have it right now. So we got 89,000 of 1998. 70,000, 2,000, 81,000, 44,000. Like, if you're just looking at the Britannias, right? The Britannia's early issue series was significantly under. Like that's actually, it's a smaller population, but Great Britain minted a lot less in the Royal Mint of the Britannia. I guess not as popular, not as high in demand, not as popular back then. But then you can see we started to finally ramp up 2015, boom. And then all I could get is back to several millions plus. Let's call it 3 million plus as demand kept growing in 2016, because they would just basically say, all right, what's our demand for this product? And we'll print print to demand, or mint to demand of this coinage over time. So they shifted their program to be kind of like rather than making it scarce, or this is pretty low. 36,000 is pretty low number of coins, to be quite frank with you. So I could see why, like this coin I would probably consider to be highly collectible. You get a 1997 Britannia in a high graded proof condition. I could see that coin being something that is collectible long term, that has the potential to grow. It's a significant difference than the American Silver Eagle coming in with 1.5 million proofs and 5.5 million uncirculated coins. Very big difference. You go to same thing, and this is kind of interesting, but I don't have the proof up here, but you kind of go in here and you start looking, and there's very few graded coins in a 70 condition. So in this situation for the Britannia, the 2-pound Britannia, yes, absolutely. You could look at the 70s being as like a more long-term collectible type thing, simply because there is some rarity to that. There is some collectability there. So I do find that to be interesting. I don't know how many of you guys have looked into this as well, but I just started looking into this last week, and I thought it might make an interesting conversation because, again, these things are being produced for the collectability. So if you're going to purchase them for collectability and long-term potential appreciation as a collectible, well, then you should kind of look in to see like which ones would be collectible or not. Otherwise, you could just end up buying something that's got 40 million of them minted, and everybody that wants one already has one, right? And then they become just basically bullion at that point. And there's a big difference between, if I'm going to buy bullion, I'm going to just go buy a generic cheap round that any mint can make. It's no big deal. All right. All right, let's go back to what's the next. Let's go to maples. Canadian maples, another one. We start off first year, 1 million, 3 million, 1 million. We have a lull in 91, 92, low mintages. You can see it looks like, I guess, demand kind of fell off. I'm not quite sure the story behind this, because we got 1 million, 900,000, 320, 250, 101, 1997. That's a very low amount. 101,000 is pretty low. I will consider that. I never understood the big premiums on Eagles when you can get 999 maples at spot much of the time. Yeah, Farm Boy, it's because it's demand, right? When the Eagle is in tremendous demand, the resellers, the retailers know that they can attach a larger premium because everybody wants one, right? Like just because there's a 35 million mint, it doesn't mean that every single person, like every single retailer, has an abundant supply to meet that demand, because there's a lot of retailers, right? There's a lot of coin shops and there's a lot of online dealers, all that stuff. So they get their allocation of these things, they sell them, and if they sell out instantly because all the people are wanting to buy US Eagles because of marketing and advertising and the fact that it's just a US mint product, right? That does drive up demand. So when they're issued, people are clamoring to get them. They charge an extra premium, right? It's as simple as that. You notice, like during the run up, when they were buying them back, they were buying them basically at spot, or $1 or $2 over spot is what they were buying them at. And you know what they were doing? If they were ugly, if they weren't perfectly shiny full tubes, most of these people were just literally shipping them to refiners to sell for whatever the refiners were paying for them. So just like circulated coins are getting melted down and destroyed from 90%, American Silver Eagles are also, maples, eagles, all that stuff are also getting melted down and destroyed. Again, the biggest difference though is that the 90% stuff was used as currency. So its condition was already deteriorating. It was already getting lost, dropped through the cracks of sewers or whatever, into a river, whatever, right? It was being used, destroyed, naturally, attrition. And then in the future, even after it was being used as currency and after it was being minted, it was continuing to be melted down. So you have a like double layer of potential collectability and price appreciation in the future, because it literally is going to be so rare to have a high quality version of 90% coins, versus, again, these are bullion collectible coins. Basically, they're not, they're pure ounce of silver is what I mean by that, 999. But they're still sovereign mintages, but they're not scarce, they're not rare, and they've never been intended to be destroyed or used like that. All right, so we had a low mintage there, and then kind of just like the Britannia, right? You saw the Britannia, all of a sudden demand just really start peaking in the 2000s, and that's when, the maple. So you could argue, I think you can make a fair argument point that from 2001 prior, let's call it 1990, ignore the 1989, 3 million's a lot, but I could see somebody arguing for some of these maples. And then when we go here, we look at the MS70 report. There's only 964 of the 1 ounce maple leaf in MS70. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying there's only this many. Not everybody's grading them. There's other grading services. Just understand where we're coming from with this. But I would say that having an MS70 of one of the key date maple leaves, if possible, look, you can see there's not that many. And here's where they start. This is the best thing to do, is scroll down and see where they even start. Look, 2018, there's a lot. So that must have been a good mint. Whoever did this mintage, was this Philadelphia? They did a good job. But if you look, okay, this one did a good job. 2022, 2023 did a pretty good job. But if you look at some of these, they just don't have 70. They just aren't of a high quality for whatever reason. Maybe they just weren't sent in for grading, simply because people from Canada didn't send it into PCGS. I don't know. But the 69 is your common grade is 69. So this has probably got like a small premium. Anything below a 69 is probably no premium, or should be no premium. But a 70, I could see a 70 dictating a very large premium. It's all caveated, right? Because if you go to something where there's, so few issued and so few graded, there might be a difference. But population reports are important in terms of pricing. People, big collectors out there who are trying to get the best quality. And if you go through any of the online registries and you look at people competing for registries, like, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Hey, take care, being Becky. Thanks for being here. A lot of bullion bought and sealed tubes stay that way. There are tons of MS70 modern mint product. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at, Warhammer. Like, just because it's not on here doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because they were built to be that way, right? All right, let's move on to the Libertades here. But you can see pretty low mintages here. And the Libertad. Now, this is where things get a little interesting, right? This is where they get a little bit interesting, because we have the Onsas here. American Silver Eagles, you can see that American Silver Eagles were just in abundance, right? These numbers for the ASE are crazy. I would go so far to argue. The difference is, though, is we have a massive demand for this, which keeps these prices where they are. If the demand were to ever fall off, there would be very little reason to pay much money over spot for any of this stuff, because there's just so much of it out there. Everybody that wants one can get one. But if we go to the Onça here, this is the Libertad. I would argue right now that the Libertad is is the coinage, or not even a coin, it's the round that is demanding the highest premium. And what's very interesting about that is, again, this is a round. This isn't even a coin. The other three were coins. They have the actual currency, right? They have pounds, Canadian dollars and US dollar currency values. They could be used. Like, you could take an American Silver Eagle today and you could use it for $1 of goods and services at a store, right? Most stores, half these damn stores don't even take US dollars anymore, but you could use it for $1. Now, should you do that? No. And I almost wish that they would reprice American Silver Eagles with like a $30 or $40 USD valuation. Maybe even just 20 would be nice. I think they should revalue them when they mint them. But anyway, here we go. The Libertad. First year of issue, 1982. We got a milli. Another million. Pretty consistent. 2 million is considered a high mintage, by the way. 2 million is considered a high mintage of the Libertad, the Mexican Libertad. 1.7, 500,000, million, 3 million, another high mintage in 1992. All right, and then we kind of hit that same 1990s, man. The 1990s was a tough time during silver mintages, because all of them had a little bit of a lull here. But look what ends up kind of happening. We kind of like see this weird little shift, right? Go to 400,000, 500,000, 300,000, 100,000, 67,000, 95,000. So these are, that's pretty low. 67,000 is pretty dang low. 1998 is probably pretty hard to get. It probably demands a pretty high premium from a collector, or you go to a coin show and they know what they have. That's pretty nice. But these are rounds. Don't get twisted. These are rounds. There's nothing stopping these from being restruck, except the Mexican mint probably won't ever do it. It's probably never going to happen. But these are rounds. These are not government minted coins. Right? All right. Then we go 340, 380. Now we're getting into the million again. Another 5. These are the best estimates that the robots could get. 800,000, 300,000, 200,000 again. Boom. Million, kind of like averaging around 800,000 or so. We could call it like that. And then I just wanted to show this down here. I've heard this by multiple sources. I do not know the reasoning for this. I don't know if this was some sort of anniversary. I don't know if this was just a mintage outage. I don't know the reason why the Mexican Libertad in 2025, they printed around 300 of these. Okay, 300. This coin is 100% a collectible coin, assuming that they don't ever go back and restrike or remint a whole bunch of the 2025 series, which again, there's nothing stopping them from doing this. Honestly, technically, there's really nothing stopping any other country's mint, or not country's mint, but like a mint in another country from printing them as well, right? Like, I mean, these are just around. Yeah, there probably will be a lot of fakes in the future, quite honestly. But this is something that, like, if I had one of these and I got it graded for, it doesn't even matter, like a 69 or a 70, like that to me is something that I would definitely want to collect and hold on to for long term. But I'm talking to, like, not everybody's a numismatic type person. Not everyone cares who stacks constitutional silver, cares about, the potential growth of their coins. But that's why I've been splitting it. Is I buy bulk circulated coins, right? You guys know I'm the $50 American Walking Liberty. Issue the Libertad's official legal tender. It qualifies as a sovereign coin rather than a private round, despite lacking a stamp. Because the Bank of Mexico issues the Libertad as official legal tender, it qualifies. Hey, what's up, yeah? So I read that. Also, Littlefoot. When I was looking into these 4 different things, that's why I've kind of included it in this discussion. But I'm just saying that by the technical terms of the coin versus a round, it is technically a round in at least our nation's understanding of it. But yes, I did read that they do accept it for its currency. The difference is, though, is like it's not 1 peso. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not worth like 50 pesos. It's traded at its silver ounce value. So like that's no different. That's no different than like me having an American Silver Eagle and being like, okay, it says $1 on it, but I know that I can trade it for goods and services, from people in the know at around $60. You get what I'm saying? So that's the only caveat I'd say, and that's why I did include it. But it is still, I think anybody would still technically call this a round because there is no specific face value from a government listed on it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's recognized as a value from the mint, but that's it. So we go into this, and then look at this, guys. This is the difference. The population report here. Okay. Total 30,070, 25,069. But if we look at these early dates, you can see that there's very few even in a 69. All right. Very few graded even in a 69. So if you're the holder, let's say, of a 1988, right? This is not a double die obverse. This is just the standard Libertad. And you get the 69. I can tell you this coin in the MS69 is going to be worth significantly more than the spot price of silver per ounce. And it's going to be worth significantly more than 67. And how I kind of do this, like when I'm buying coins and I'm trying to determine which coin fits my budget and is worth my time. So what I kind of do is this. You can see how there's only 2. Let's use the 1988 as an example here. There's only 2 and 62. There's 5 and 63. There's 42 and 64. There's 91 and 65. Now there's 60 in the 66. There's 207. There's 258 and 67, and there's 89 and 68, and there's 3 and 69. So what ends up happening is you get like this basic curve that kind of looks something like that, and then you come back down, right? That's kind of what we're looking at here. So when I'm looking at something, if I'm going to just be starting my collection and I just want like a good representation of this coin for a reasonable price, I would probably be looking at the 66, and there's a potential I'd look at the 67 because those are in abundance. Those are they have the most that were graded in that range, and the 66s probably don't demand that much of a premium above spot. Not too much, probably a little bit, but not much. 67s are getting closer because, again, the 68 and the 69 is kind of rare to get it in that quality. And obviously, the 69 is going to be the highest priced one. It's going to be the creme de la creme of this vintage and this date. So that one's going to be very expensive. So you probably wouldn't just go there unless you were trying to have the best of the best for your collection. And then, 68 is still going to drive a pretty good premium because it's on the lower population side of the equation. But then again, you can go into 66, 67. So I would probably be right in here in that range. Find my coin, throw it into my safe and call it a day. Anyway, that's how I kind of look at these when I'm trying to search for which ones to buy. And I do this, again, I don't do this for Eagles, Maple Leafs, Britannias, or Libertads, because I do this with actual circulated coins, because you can do the exact same thing. It's like if I go to your United States coins, right? I'll go to my $50, my Walking Liberty $50, and I can see the same exact information. I'll stick to the higher end here. Look at this. I want to show you this. This is what I was talking about earlier. PCGS has 0 Walking Liberty $50 in the MS69 value or grading scale, and it has 0 in the MS70 grading scale. Why? Because these coins were meant to be used in circulation. If you look at this, there are very few in the 68. So obviously, having a 68 of any issue, any date or mintage of the Walking Liberty $50 is a very highly collectible. And if you look at the prices, I'm just going to give you a heads up. If you look at the prices of MS68 Walking Liberty $50 and you look at the recent sales on auctions and what they go for, these coins, guys, go from $50,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars when they sell. And it's because people like us who are collectors, who appreciate these coinage and they appreciate the history of these things, they understand that they are getting an actual, scarce piece of history that not many others can get. So that's what drives these prices up. And it's something that I think that it's more of the added value to being a constitutional stacker. And hopefully I was able to articulate that in this live stream. I wanted to present this in another way. I'm trying to expand the depth of the reasoning about my decision to kind of focus on constitutional silver at this time, and to summarize all the other videos that I've done, because I don't expect everybody to watch and listen to every single second of every single video, right? It was minted in lower mintages, right? It's got U.S. history, and just like that, you know it when you feel it. Like, it's got that sense of this has history, this has a story, this has seen stuff. This has been around, this has seen stuff, right? There's not going to be many of them of a very high quality because they were circulated so much. The supply of them is dramatically being reduced year over year over year. I've heard, I don't know how anybody would prove this, but all the research I've done, it sounds to me like roughly 85 to 90% of essentially all US 90% silver has been melted and destroyed at this point. Whether it was remelted to make new coins in the future, right? So maybe they melted 1920s to create 1940s or 1950s. It just seems like, or people were just selling them off to a refiner after the 1964s because they couldn't sell them to the public, so they just wanted to get their money from the refiners, and they sold them, whatever reasons, right? The population of these, in general terms, even these slicks where you can barely even see the dates, those are all becoming more and more and more and more and more rare. Now, there's still millions of them out there. It is not rare as in you can never find them, but I would imagine every decade that goes by, the numbers shrink, and the potential for more and more to be found that are of higher grades than have already been graded it goes down and down and down and down, and rare. So I am a collector of both the circulated, raw dog 90% coins as a stack, and then I'm also doing graded coins, numismatic graded coins that I believe have the potential to be long-term collectible investable items. If that makes sense. If not, we can again have more and more videos on it. But like, let's say right here, there's 1919, right? The 1919 Walking Liberty half dollar. There's only 6 in PCGS that are of MS67, and there's only 1 that is 67 plus from PCGS. So like if I were to buy something for a very high amount that I believed had the potential for 10, 20 years from now to be like, again, a collectible item that could go up at a lot more value as a piece of US history, I would be buying one of those really high dollar ones, really high value ones, protected in the safe. It's registered. People know it's authentic. And then again, you can relook at the markets in the future as you know, as prices change. The other thing is a lot of these, they don't downshift as dramatic as the price of metals, because their valuation isn't totally derived on the melt price of silver. There's a massive premium to these because, again, they are rare and scarce, and in these specific grades, they are very rare, right? So anyway, that's all going on. Silver State Stacker, good morning. My concern with the numismatic stacking is at the end of the day, when I do get rid of it, it will be more difficult to get rid of. It's not, I guess it depends on how you qualify difficulty. If you're talking about the fact that you would have to take all of your coins into a knowledgeable coin dealer and have them take time to look up prices and price it out and stuff like that, versus taking it in as like a 100-ounce bar, slapping that sumbitch on the table and saying, hey brother, give me, you know, my spot minus 5% for this 100-ounce bar or whatever it is. Like, yeah, I guess technically it's more difficult, but like, let's not act like there's not thousands and thousands and thousands of coin shops that understand the numismatic value of graded rare US currency coins, right? Like, you go to any coin show in America and all those guys understand if you bring them a super rare high quality piece, what it is. You get what I'm saying? So yes, is it more difficult than dumping a pile of bullion on the table? Sure. But there's plenty of outlets. And if that's something, if like exit strategy is something you should consider when you purchase anything. If I'm buying these things, what I do, just so you know, is I log every one of these like graded coins. I log them into my tracking Excel sheet. I put the price that I paid and the date that I paid on it. I register a lot of them on the PCGS account that I have as well. That's all digital stuff, obviously. But then what I also do is I take a pricing sticker, right? Just a basic sticker. Let me see if I can find one for you. This right here. Oh, I don't have my camera on. Sorry. I take a basic pricing sticker. I put it on the back of the label of the coin, and I put the price that I paid on it right there. And I do this intentionally because if I ever do have to sell one of these pieces, or maybe I want to trade up, right? Sometimes there's a situation where you might want to take 3 or 4 coins, and you take 3 or 4 coins that are graded, and you want to trade them to somebody who has a coin of a higher grade, and that's a good way to kind of shift your money from one thing to the next thing. Does that make sense? So I put the price that I paid on them just so I don't accidentally forget that, like, hey, I paid $1,100 for that coin. Like, I should try to get around that value for it, you know, if the current market price is around that, right? Farm Boy says, I want to diversify stack constitutional fantastic, but I buy rolls and look for I do the exact same thing, Farm Boy. I buy rolls of walkers and I have fun looking for the dates. Again, not everybody watches every video. I have all the albums, right? The Littleton, you know, the green Littleton album books. I do the same thing, brother. I go through, I try to fill out my album primarily through roll hunting. And then obviously the key dates and stuff, they're not going to be in your rolls. It's just the way it's going to be. And then the key date stuff, I either buy shopping through auctions, or I go to coin shops, which is what I'm going to do this weekend. Literally this weekend, Saturday, I'm going to be going to a coin shop in Virginia. And I'm going to be, not a coin shop, excuse me, a coin show in Virginia. And I'm going to be taking my notes of all the things that I need for my albums. And I'm going to be trying to source those coins. I might also be looking for some of these, you know, graded coins that are in a fair price, you know, stuff like that. So that's the fun. And that's the other part about Constitutional is like, I don't have that kind of fun. Good morning, Catcom. I don't have that kind of fun hunting experience, so to speak, buying generic rounds. You know what I'm saying? Or buying American Silver Eagles. Oh, look, this American Silver Eagle looks just like that one, except for a different date. That's cool. I still have American Silver Eagles. I'm not saying they're a bad coin. I'm just saying it's more fun. It's more fun. You can still find key dates in big bags of dimes because no one has the time. Oh yeah. Sorry, I don't collect dimes, so I can't really speak on the dimes Warhammer. I'm talking about more the half dollars. Like I've opened hundreds of dollars of half dollars, and I just have not of not just half dollars, but Walking Liberty half dollars, and I just have not found anything remotely close to a key date. Mostly what I get when I buy rolls are like the 30s and the 40s, the popular plenty of mintage, no big deal type stuff. But it's still fun. You get San Francisco's and you get Denver's and you get Phillies, and you just kind of sort through it. So anyway, I got to get to work, ladies and gentlemen. I do appreciate everybody hopping in, hanging out with me this morning. Just a random live stream. I thought I'd have some fun talking about this stuff and sharing a little bit of a different perspective on looking at constitutional in terms of more of its numismatic graded versions and comparing it to, the other coinage and mintages from around the world, and at least the most popular ones. So anyway, thank you guys so much again. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday and your week. And you know it. I will see you guys the next time you pop in here. Click like, subscribe, join us the next time we go live. And also, thank you again, being Becky, for passing along that hype train eagle. I do appreciate it. Bye-bye.